Hey, so today I want to talk about Marvel's 2021 offering, Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. Now, this is like the fourth film I watched in like 2 months, and this is like the third film I watched in like back to back every other weekend. I watched Black Widow last month, and then the last previous week I watched The Green Knight, and the week before I watched Suicide Squad. So yeah, I'm feeling a lot better and like good about it that we get to watch a lot of films in the theater, and Shang-Chi was definitely the most well-packed theater I've seen in this past 4 weeks. Now, besides than that, Shang-Chi is an experience definitely. If you can, if you definitely watch this film in big screens, because these blockbuster films and films that are made on such a massive scale on a budget is really meant to be seen on a big screen. Now there's no pressure. Definitely you can watch it, but you should definitely support. Now, Shang-Chi is directed by Destin Daniel Cretton and written mainly by Dave Callahan. There's also Daniel Destin Cretton and other people who are credited as the story and screenplay. Now, this is a through and through Marvel vehicle, and for me, it feels like the kickoff for the Phase 4, because Black Widow was sort of a kind of in a weird way when it came to the whole timeline thing, but this is Marvel back with full force. Shang-Chi is a character that is a little less known in comics, but they are trying to delve into new territories and kind of promote diversity. So here we are. Now, obviously, a lot of things they're gonna talk about: the character, the action, the CGI, everything. But rather, right out of the bat, I kind of wanna talk about Tony Leung, because Tony Leung is one of the greatest actor like ever, and definitely one of the best actor that is currently living among us. So that he acts so well in this film is kind of weird, because when he acts, he still acts like Tony Leung. He doesn't act like a big star Hollywood film star in a blockbuster film. He does what he does. Now there's action, there's kind of other things that goes with Hollywood big bad, but he didn't play it like that. He played like a narcissistic, power obsessed warlord, a very headstrong father, and kind of a disheveled man who has been just kind of lost in the rubble, and he plays them so well. A lot has been said about Tony Leung, how he acts with his eye. So I implore you, if you watch this film, kind of look at his eyes, because his eyes really does some amazing things. His expressions, his way of talking, his way of how he emotes things, it's just a whole other level. So yeah, it's good that Tony Leung is finally getting the recognition with a much more global and larger scope. Now get that out of the way. Simu Liu. Simu Liu is just fun. Simu Liu is a perfect main sort of protagonist for a Marvel film. He has everything. He's got the build, he's got the charisma, he's got the charm, he's got the comedy, and definitely the acting chops. He is just so well put together that you can easily envision him in this universe for like the next 10 years. And along with that, there's Awkwafina. Now you may or may not know who Awkwafina is, but Awkwafina is mainly a comedy actress, though she has definitely done some dramatic things. And with that, Awkwafina definitely has some kind of acting imploration, or she has some dimensions. In here, Awkwafina plays a very different Awkwafina. Now she can be when she wants to be her true to herself, but he doesn't. She's kind of like a dialed it back, because her and Shang-Chi are not really love interests, but there's a kind of thing going on there, and Marvel kind of, I guess, didn't want to really just throw it out the window. That's why they just keep it in a sort of a middle ground, where if they want to explore something in the future, that can be explored. Now, that is all about. I want to talk about the characters, because other than that, like every actor, there's a lot of veteran Asian actors in this film. They do tremendous well done job. That's just kind of what comes with the territory. Now, this film, it progresses in a very linear way, and this has a very easy to follow story. So there's nothing wrong with that. And what keeps this thing very well oiled and just chugging along is the action. The action are really well paced, and there's I was kind of hoping, but there was a scene reminiscent of Park Chan-wook's Old Boy, though they don't do it definitely that long, but they definitely try to emulate it for an international audience that don't get bored, or a thing that doesn't get too expensive or too overbearing, and I like that. Action sequences in this film is just top notch. It's just action after action, not in a the raid redemption way, but in a way that is very well paced and just doesn't bore you. Now, in that way, this film is definitely on par with every other Marvel films that keeping things light. Though this I think might be the most action heavy or at least hand to hand action heavy Marvel films because it's just the way of the territory, the kind of film that it is. But besides than that, this film is also kind of very unmarvel. I remember when I'm watching this film, after like 15 minutes, I'm like, okay, this is a very different kind of blockbuster film. I'm not saying narratively, it's narratively very much a blockbuster film with all kind of crowd pleasing things and blockbuster tropes that you expect in your 2 hour and how many much money you paid and your experience with that. What I say is that this film explores themes, it has imagery, cinematography, sounds that are not very we are not very used to in this kind of universe. When we watch even when we watch Black Panther. Black Panther has a lot of typical things because we've seen those kind of spy action adventure films, but this is not that. This film is throughout a family drama, and at its core, kind of like a exploration of a family and its dynamic with a massive blockbuster upload in it, and through that, this film just kind of runs with it. And during the final act, the third act, the thing just progresses, it just delves deeper. It just becomes more in tune with the culture that is trying to go. It doesn't break it. There's no other characters there there are other characters, but that doesn't really break your attention. Those character kind of gets into this culture, not the other way around. The culture doesn't implode around them. So in that way, this film has done a truly tremendous job. And during the last battle, of course, it's your big bad CGI and film, the thing that Marvel does, big bad kind of extravaganza. But Shang-Chi kind of takes a very hard turn because this is not what you would expect, because the film goes from martial art to a very different genre and in a very different way, twist and the big fight, the film that's gonna crescendo yourself and then kind of ends the whole thing, goes in a very different direction, which I liked. A lot of things are here because you saw like Abomination and Wong, and there's a lot of things that we actually knew because I think they were trying to just get people to go to see this film and just kind of hype it up. But there's a lot of things that's still under the hood. That's what I love about the Marvel films, that no matter what they promise, they will always deliver more and sometimes over deliver. That's what I like it. This film is a strong 3.5 out of 5, and if you're a Marvel fan, I don't see any reason to stop seeing this film. You should definitely watch the film. If you're not a Marvel fan, but if you have 2 hours or want to watch something blockbuster-ish that might not traditional Western horror, Western Hollywood blockbuster films, you can definitely see this. It's also worth a shot.